photo sequence start in 5, 4, 3, 2, 1.
Well, hello there. Welcome, my fellow wise old souls, to another installment of Canned Conversation. My name is Andrew. With me, as always, my good friend Steven.
Hello.
Hello. They say 1 is for the money, 2 is for the show, 3 is to get ready, and 4 is to go.
Yes.
What, my friend, is number 5?
It's time to let's go with have a retrospective about how the first 4 steps went.
Oh.
That way you know whether or not you need to rinse and repeat or change any of those 4 steps.
Wow. That is...
Is that where you thought I was going to go with that?
I had no idea, but you took the very technical route.
Yeah.
Is that a technical? A very,
Sure.
very process-oriented
Yeah,
route of that. All right. According to Elvis, wherever it is, don't step on his blue suede shoes.
Okay.
It's probably the most famous use of that.
Is that what you were hoping I would think of? Sorry.
I don't know what I thought you would think of. I was in my head when I was thinking about this episode, started singing that song for whatever reason, and actually couldn't think of the song. I had to look it up. I thought it was a different song. I thought it was like a Buddy Holly song or whatever, and like because you start to hum, and when I saw that, and then Elvis, there's tie-ins to Elvis.
Now I'm singing that song in my head. Dang it.
There's tie-ins to Elvis scattered about this episode.
Oh, awesome.
Maybe. All right. So as is our special place in the podcast universe, one of us brings a new, unique, or rare canned beverage to try. And while we lap up its contents, we will do our very best to entertain you with our take on life's most interesting topics and exhilarate you with our most fascinating stories. Today's topic being about potential and whether you, me, or we have any of it. Later in the show, we'll review and rate the canned beverage and let you know if you should try it while feeding screaming goats at your local exotic animal farm.
Love goats. I love me some goats. Someday on my own
Especially
goats.
the screamers.
I like the fact that they yell funny. So yes. Do you not like little baby yelling goats?
I love them. And I love when people mix them with Taylor Swift songs.
Oh my God, even better.
And put them out on the intrawebs for us to enjoy because I loved that one.
Okay.
So that was good.
All right.
That's actually what made me think of that. It was in my head. I was like,
You watched it.
Remember that song that they did with the goats and the and Taylor Swift? And
right.
It was so good.
It's so good. All right.
All right, let's do this one. This one is I'm very excited for this movie.
Okay.
Quote, and I hope you enjoyed as much as I enjoyed getting it.
All right.
You know, Sicilians are great liars.
Oh.
Best in the world. I'm Sicilian. My father was the world heavyweight champion of Sicilian liars. From growing up with him, I learned the pantomime. There are 17 different things a guy can do when he lies to give himself away. Guy's got 17 pantomimes. Woman's got 20, guy's got 17. But if you know them, like you know your own face, they'd be lie detectors all to hell. Now, what we got here is a little game of show and tell. You don't want to show me nothing, but you tell me everything. I know you know where they are, so tell me. Before I do some damage, you won't walk away from it.
Oh, I had a blast because I don't know why it took me so long to go, what is... Well, I'll let you say it.
It's True Romance. It's one of the best movies ever.
Your proclaimed favorite movie.
It is. It's one of my faves.
So I don't know why it popped into my head, and then but the movie popped into my head right around the same time. Elvis, again,
I'm not sure.
There's an Elvis tie-in, right?
Okay.
Right?
Oh yeah. Oh okay.
He's a character sort of in the movie.
He wears the glasses for sure.
So I look it up, and I'm like, when's the last time I watched Steven's favorite movie. It's been a long time. So I
haven't seen it for a while
rewatched
either.
it.
Did you really? I
did.
need to rewatch it again too.
Now, here's my question, because this blew me away. I did not know this piece of trivia. Who wrote True Romance?
Oh,
The writer of the movie.
I don't know. Are you gonna, I mean,
You know who it is. You'll know the name. You'll know who it is.
will I?
Yeah, huge.
So,
It actually says a lot. So I learned that. Then I watched it, and I
the
was
same
like,
guy who wrote Pulp Fiction?
yeah,
Yeah.
Quentin Tarantino.
That makes a lot of sense then.
Yes, Quentin Tarantino
When you said you
wrote
recognize
it.
I'm like, I think that would make a good Quentin Tarantino movie.
Yeah.
Like, that makes a ton of sense.
That Christopher Walken diatribe thing that he does is, I mean,
yeah,
it's those very same.
there's a pattern there and
Yeah.
all the other stuff he does after that.
Yeah,
That's funny.
and great part of the movie. One of the only ones I could sample.
Yeah, there's a lot of not appropriate stuff in that movie.
Right. With most of Quentin Tarantino's movies, but that one, when I was watching that scene, I'm like, I'm grabbing that one. The pantomimes. I totally forgotten about a lot of that movie.
17 men have. There's 20 of them.
There's 20 of the women
There's
have.
20 of them. But I'm just saying.
And I wish I was in the head of like, what are the 17? What are the 3 that are different?
Speaking of movies, I know we've got to get to this beer at some point in our
But
future.
no, I was so excited.
I know.
I'm hoping you're when you started hearing it.
No, the second I heard, once you hear that walk-in voice, you're like, I know what this is. Like, yeah, I love this movie. I probably need to go back and rewatch it. I haven't watched it in probably 10 years. I love that movie.
Yeah, I'm curious whether for you it aged,
if
it got better as you got older, because it was interesting as I'm watching. I'm like, why? I think I've asked you too once or twice, like, why do you like this movie so much?
It's weird, right? It's a weird movie.
Sort of, but it's less weird when Quentin Tarantino, when he wrote it, because it's similar in nature to sort of just, here's some random events. And during those events, they have weird discussions about things you probably wouldn't normally, say in a movie.
I think it was the time of my life when I watched it when it came out.
Right.
It was like mind-blowing adulting.
Yeah.
Does that make sense?
There was a lot of interesting things in there. Christian Slater was sort of huge with younger people, I think, at the time. And
why can't I think of the girl's name? But dang it. The girl in that
right, and I just had
Alabama Whirly. I mean, that's her name.
Yes.
I can't believe I just pulled that out of my butt too. But yeah, so people, if you're listening, message me. Hopefully, we'll know it by the time you hear
And almost
this.
the entire cast of, it seems like Reservoir Dogs is in there. There's so many people in there.
Yeah, it's got a great cast.
Right, the guy that played Tony Soprano is in there. He's the guy that him and Alabama come to. Come to blows, basically. Just a lot of, in Christopher Walken, in very small part, I remembered him being in there a lot more. But anyway, I know we're kind of going on and on about True Romance.
Yeah, the Tarantino thing just blows my mind now, because now I'm replaying scenes from that movie, going, that's 100% Quentin Tarantino, right? Like that.
What about Brad Pitt's character?
Oh, he's awesome. He's high.
Which is the highest, most stonery person.
Yeah, he's great.
Who you can barely understand the words.
And then there's the white guy who's the pimp, and he's like that skinny guy.
Yeah.
Like there's all kinds of crazy characters in that. And I think that's all the other reasons. Like you're like, these people are lunatics. Like there's a whole world out there of lunatics like this in my head. So that makes a lot of sense.
Patricia Arquette.
There you go.
Was the actress.
Yeah.
I had so much fun this last week with that. Like getting to watch it again, getting to take the line and figure out which one I was going to do.
So we haven't even got to a beer yet, and I'm gonna completely divert us again, just so you know, because we brought up movies. I am now not the last person on earth to get Netflix.
Oh my gosh.
We got
all right.
We got Netflix last week. Specifically so I could watch the 5th episode in a 5-episode series that's only half-an-hour episodes. So I bought Netflix to buy 28 minutes worth of content on a show called Conk on Earth. Have you seen it?
Oh, yeah. I just watched an episode last night because the family was just kind of sitting around, and I'm like, we're doing another one of these. And it was the Renaissance.
I
episode.
love the Renaissance. What kind of sauce is that?
Right.
The stuff that's in there, I peed my pants laughing so hard. And
It's
my wife was
ridiculous.
like, that's really not that funny. I'm like, it's the funniest thing I've seen in a long, like I cried
It's
laughing.
so good.
I was
is.
drinking a lot when I was watching it, but still, it's funny.
This is when they invented the guillotine. And people that were in the guillotine, once this blade fell, they must have felt like they were free and were about to get away. Like just the crazy. But she says it so deadpan.
Yeah. She's like, the Titanic, the first single-use submarine ever invented. And you're like, oh my God, what the hell is that? That's not okay.
Yeah.
There's like, but it's 1,000 one-liners.
Yeah.
And so now I follow her on the gram, and it just, all I get is these clips that make me laugh all day. Like I'm like, it's like every episode's only 28 minutes, but it's probably 45 clips.
It's a lot.
Oh, it's
a lot.
so funny. Sorry.
Did she write though? I need to stick around long enough. Is she a writer on there too, or she? Because we asked that last night, and I meant to look that up.
So I realized she does
so good.
Kunk on Britain, and then that Fiona Kunk is I think that's her name, Fiona Kunk, whatever it is. It's a character. That's not the actress's real name.
Right.
But so she's a British comedian, and so she started with, I guess, Britain and then moved to Earth. The Earth one's the only one I've seen. I cannot wait to start Britain. I don't know how many episodes there are of that.
Is that on Netflix, the Britain one?
I couldn't find it.
Yeah, I didn't.
So I think it literally is on BBC.
Okay.
It's the only place you can find it.
Have to get more content.
I don't care. I will go find it.
Well, now that you
funny.
have Netflix, you can watch the Pez Outlaw. I got a bunch of stuff you can watch.
That's what I'm telling you. So now my mind is back open. And so the other thing I wanted to just shout out that I watched, and maybe everybody else has watched this. It's this document. We like documentaries, and if you haven't watched it, it's called Stutz. Stutz, and it's
I'm just not a big fan of
Jonah Hill.
Jonah Hill. He rubs me the wrong way, and I don't know why.
From a psychology perspective, I loved this one. It was so cool.
And a new movie just came out with him in it on Netflix, and it's like Those People or One of Those People, something like that. And it's got Elaine from Seinfeld in it, Julie Louis-Dreyfus, and Eddie Murphy.
Can't believe you
isn't it?
I don't know. I've not seen it. I've been on for a week and I've watched 2 things.
Right on. So I saw the preview for that, and that it just. But him, I can't take him. Like 2 minutes of him talking, and I'm like, stop. I don't know why. I do not know why.
Okay, so it's him talking to his therapist. It is actually him doing a documentary about his therapist. His therapist has Parkinson's.
Oh, okay.
Which doesn't come up. It's like it's a weird ass documentary. Don't get me wrong. There and in the middle it gets weirder. Like literally, there's weird crap that happens. They talk about weird stuff, but the therapist in it is unlike any other therapist because he said it's inappropriate.
Still a lot of stuff going.
He basically was like, don't drop your crap on me when you come into therapy. And then he's like, I need to be entertained, so entertain me, Jonah Hill. And so he's like, this is the best therapist I've ever been to, and here's why. He gives me all these tools, but he also doesn't let me just come in and have a pity party and blah, blah, blah. And so it's about the therapist's life and how he grew up and his mom, and he had a brother that died and all this kind of stuff. So it kind of goes back why this therapist is the way he is, which is kind of cool. But he's super sarcastic and inappropriate and like cusses, and
the therapist
is and super funny about it. So I'm like, this guy's awesome, but he's also had Parkinson's since he was like 25 or 30.
Oh, okay.
So he has a weird condition that he's had it forever, long time. Anyway, moving on. It was super, like I was pulled into that thing and I could not stop watching. So if anybody else doesn't hate Jonah Hill and wants to watch a cool documentary, there's one out there. Apparently it's on Netflix because I'm there now and I saw it.
You'll be the last person to see The Tiger King.
I probably still won't watch it.
I mean, that was the quintessential peak of the mountain for Netflix, right? It just hit at the right time.
I'm catching it on the downhill right now, just so you know. Everybody else is leaving Netflix. They're going to whatever else. And I'm like, I got it now.
You're like, I've banked all of this, so I'm just going to binge it for however long it takes you, and then you can just drop it.
Yeah. I may only keep it for a month.
Yeah. Okay.
So send me some stuff.
Some good suggestions.
Yeah. Okay. We got a beer that we haven't even gotten to yet. We're like 14 minutes into a podcast or something. All right. So I brought today something that I know that we don't do enough of, and I'm going to try to make us purposely uncomfortable.
Let's do it.
Is that all right?
Yeah. What is it? IPA?
It's an IPA.
Okay.
So I brought Schlafly makes a wintry haze IPA. Or for those of you who like to have things spelled out, it's an IPA. So it's an Indian Pale Ale, for those who don't know what IPA is, or IPA. It is 12 Florida ounces. and it is made by the Schlafly Brewing Company, brewed in St. Louis, Missouri. 6.0% alcohol by volume. So we don't do a lot of IPAs because you and I have poorly refined palates. Apparently,
Just don't like bitters.
Yeah, it's just So
and brewed in the Lou, right? 'Cause you
Brewed in
said
the
St.
Lou.
Louis. And it does have the large picture of hop here, so I expect it to be front and center. And no other indication of taste other than haze
an
and
IPA.
IPA.
Yep.
Yep, that's what I was looking for.
It's a simple can.
Yeah.
Not a whole lot of, showy, fun stuff. I will tell you that this stemmed from me having a conversation at the liquor store with a representative from Schlafly who's like, hey, this is our new stuff. And I go, I don't like IPAs. I do a podcast. And he's like, well, you're going to like this one. And I go, challenge accepted.
Right.
So I bought a 6-pack of it. So
Right.
we'll drink this, we'll rate it, and we'll see whether or not Representative Guy from Schlafly's is correct.
I'm excited.
Awesome. All right. So you want to talk about potential?
Potentially.
Okay. Well, that's good.
Low hanging fruit there.
Yeah, it was. Sorry. So I've been stewing on this topic for a while, and we had a little break for a little bit. And I was stewing on it before that, stewing on it afterwards. I think it's still what's in my head that I need to get out. So you know how these topics go with me. You usually have some organization around yours. I have some loose organization around this. But potential has come up a lot recently, or at least has spurred a lot of thought recently. And it's started with a conversation I had with my wife about some people that we interact with, some friends, and going, why doesn't that person has such potential? One person specifically we've been talking about, they have the potential they're very, very creative. And if allowed to express that in a way that's productive, like they would be, like they have tons of potential to earn a really good living. Right now, they're not making a lot of money, but they could be making a ton of money. They have a ton of creativity when it comes to like editing and doing things with video and being able to market that. And like there's a career there, right? And we're like, I just wish people would have the ability to go pursue their potentials. And I'm like, why don't people do that more? There's a whole lot of reasons, I'm sure, but what do you think?
So just out of curiosity, have you talked to this person about that?
I know why they don't.
Okay. So that's to come. Okay, good. Because I don't know. Maybe it is.
Maybe it is.
Spoiler alert. All right. So that's a really interesting question because I was just having a conversation with my oldest and talking about, she's right in the prime. Your daughter is the same age as mine. My oldest, your youngest are the same age. And we were talking about this part in their life where it's like they're out of that schooling, that everything's sort of taken care of for them. There's a structure of everything that they're, in between the lines. And now they have to figure out, what does my life look like? Mm-hmm. So essentially, what's my potential?
Yeah.
In essence. So it was sparking in my head when you were talking about that. Because we had this great conversation, and one of the things I tried to stress was, if you set your own bar of potential or of what you think you need to do, if you set it so high that it's unattainable, you'll shut down. I think it's a natural reaction to shut down to targets or things that are just unattainable. And so I said, you set out some small goals that are attainable yet challenging, and then work towards that. Meaning, so at the end of the day, your potential might be, I'm going to be a successful neurosurgeon, whatever. I'm not putting that on her, but whatever that, whatever that looks like for her, of going, this is, if I looked ahead 20 years, what is my potential in life? Well, in order to, you might, if that is what it is, if you said just get there, that's kind of big. And that can be overwhelming. So to your question of why do I think people might not necessarily live up to their potential, it's because they don't think that they can, or that it's too hard.
Yeah, and that there's no clean path.
Yeah.
Like I don't have the first step or the first 10 steps. And it looks like 1,000-step journey, and I don't have the first 5.
Yes, and TikTok is way easier because I just swipe up.
And those people seem to have it figured out in 5 seconds or less, right? And if I don't, I'll find somebody who does have it figured out. Those people are living up to their potential.
Well, I just meant that you can be easily distracted.
I can,
So
get lost somewhere else.
Instead of sitting down and
writing
kind
down
of thinking
goals.
about, what are these steps that I'm going to take? You go, that's huge. That's daunting. That seems like a lot. Oh, look at this.
Yep.
And not to the detriment. I'm not trying to say all that stuff is terrible and shouldn't exist.
No. You should have downtime.
Yeah. And ways to trigger your dopamine receptors. But if you let those things take over, that is also something I think can be a detriment to achieving potential, is when you don't see it as something as important as the downtime that you might want.
Yep. So I'm gonna completely flop what I plan on doing in this podcast, and we're gonna do the back part of it first and the first part of it backwards.
Okay.
So is that fair? Because we took a long time on movies. We'll drink a little bit, get to the rating here in a second. But so I'm like, from a definition perspective, I want you to put this in context. Easy definition, the easiest definition I could find: show the capacity to become something in the future. Okay. 8% of people actually reach their goals. 8. That's the figure is. So that's a small percentage, because you're thinking 8% of people actually reach goals. How many people don't set goals? You definitely don't reach goals you don't set.
That's true.
Agree?
You miss every shot you don't take.
You miss every shot you don't take.
Is that Wayne Gretzky?
Probably. So
the great one.
So when I was doing a little looking up around this, I'm like, what helps people reach their potential? So there's 3 steps. Keep in mind, I want your thoughts on each one of these steps individually, and whether or not you do them. And we're going to talk on the backside about your potential in some specific areas. So
have I reached my potential?
We're not going to talk about it yet.
I know, but you're teasing it.
Have you reached your potential in specific areas?
Okay.
All right. So the 3 ways, the 3 things you have to do to reach your potential, 3 easiest steps. You have to analyze yourself. So you have to be self-aware, and you have to understand how to analyze yourself. Like, where am I at? What am I good at? What am I not good at? 2, you have to have personal growth, goals around personal growth. What areas? So now that you've analyzed yourself, what am I not good at? What do I need to get better at? What do I not know enough about? What areas do I need to go find new stuff at? 3 is you need to find a way to challenge yourself to a point where you're uncomfortable, which is something people don't usually do. They challenge themselves only to a point of comfort. Like, once they hit the line of I'm uncomfortable,
right?
Your brain, lizard brain, pulls you back in and goes, it's not safe there, or whatever.
So
how do you think about those 3?
The first 2, understood. Number 3, understand as well. But I'm curious is if you see what the being uncomfort and challenge, do you see that as equal to what I was saying of it's overwhelming or daunting? When you see something do you see those as similar? Like, are they same? Are brothers and sisters or cousins, or not even in the same family?
So I think the actual 3rd one is a mindset to say, I can set goals that are small, but also I can go find things that I need to learn more about, and be okay going, I'm stupid about this. I don't know. And that makes people uncomfortable a lot of times. Like, sometimes they don't go learn things because they'll feel stupid because they have to ask questions, and they have to to go talk to somebody and go, I don't know crap about any of this. Help me. Like, people don't like asking for help. They don't like looking stupid. So some, right? I mean, I ask questions.
I'm not trying to toot my own horn, but I don't mind it at all.
I made a living out of it.
Yeah. I'm like, I'll be because if I don't know how to do, I've tried to fake it till I make it on a couple of occasions early on, and it failed.
Yeah.
And then people were like, I thought you knew what you were doing. And I was like, that's kind of what I have alluded to, So now I'm like, I'm like, here, help me. You're the expert. I want to learn, and I love learning. So, it's one thing that.
Yeah. I was on a call this week, and I was on with people above me in title, rank, pay. And they go, Steven, have you ever heard of this word? I threw out a word. I go, no. Like, it was like hypoglobianism. No, it's not. If anybody, I'm going to tell you what it means, and then you're going to be like, it's this, Steven. Everybody's heard of it. Polyglobal, something, whatever it is. It means full stack developer. For those who want to know what a weird ass word is, there's a weird word for a full stack developer. Just know that.
Okay.
And I go, no, I could have gone, oh, everybody knows that, and just hopefully moved on.
Right.
And I'm like, I have no idea what that means, and that may make me stupid. And they go, no, it doesn't make you stupid. I'm just wondering how many people would know this. And I go, what does it mean? And they go, full stack developer. And I go, then just say full stack. Like, take all those crazy words out of you fancy people. Anyway, so you have to be able to be okay with going, I don't care if I look stupid.
Yeah, I just threw that out there because I think it, like, to what I thought I heard you start to say was nobody really likes to do that, which I think is a sort of cliche. But I think there is uncomfort in saying you don't know how to do something.
Agree.
And having to rely on someone else to tell you how to do it.
That's a good point. There's a good portion of people who don't like to get uncomfortable, don't like to be uncomfortable, and whatever aspect of their life. Maybe it's learning, maybe it's something else. So I think that keeps people from reaching their potential, right? Is the fact that you don't set challenging enough goals. You don't challenge yourself enough to go, oh, I failed at this. Why'd I fail? That's okay that I failed. I pushed myself farther than I thought I could. You know, it was the same with running or whatever. Like, you just go, I'm going to go, you know, somebody who just goes, a mile is a long way. And they go, I'm going to try to run a half mile. Well, they probably could have run the mile. They just don't challenge themselves enough to know that the mile isn't that much harder. Mind tells them it is. You know what I mean? That kind of thing. Which,
again, it's very similar to what I started with saying. If you set your goal, like, and you've said this a bunch with running, right? Like, if you go, I'm going to run a 5K, and you haven't run at all, and you're like, wow, that's 3.2 miles, and you're like, oh man, that's really far. But if you go, hey, by a month from now, I want to be able to run a half mile.
Yep.
And then a month from that, I want to be able to run a mile. And I'm taking set achievable goals, and then work towards them. And once you achieve them, the goals become easier.
And you may need to change,
achieve.
right?
Yeah,
like, you may need to go, I ran a half mile in 2 weeks.
Right.
Now I can run a mile
what'll
in
happen.
a week.
Right. That's what will end up happening is once you start running, it starts to become easier enough that it's like, the graph of it's probably like, hard. And then, but once you get to a certain point, it's like, oh my gosh, if you can do 6, you can do 10.
Yeah.
And you've said that a bunch, right? Like,
yeah, there's a point in which, my wife's like, I can't believe you're going to, do that much. And I'm like, if I can run 4, I'm going to run 6. If I could, and she's like, well, running a mile is really far. And I'm like, it is when your mind tells you that it's really far. But right now, 15 miles is really far for my mind. So if I run 8, it's less than really far. Like, so I know I can run it. If I get uncomfortable, I can slow down, or I can just run through it. Like, running is my go-to because I've at least had the mental fortitude to do that enough to know how to, like, change my mind about how I feel about, oh, my ankle hurts. It's okay. Run through it. You'll be fine. Mm-hmm. Like, so anyway, so that was the 3 is analyze yourself, be self-aware, find ways to make yourself more self-aware.
And I didn't mean to gloss over that.
No.
So that one is very good as well. Self-awareness is huge.
We've talked about friends and family that's not very self-aware, right? It's not a trait that everybody has, but it's a attribute that you should strive for and find new ways to find people who will give you feedback on how they perceive your behavior or how you're being perceived in the world. Those are good things.
And to this topic of conversation, and again, I fall back to this conversation I just had with my daughter, and we're talking about, potentials of down the road and things you might want to do, and self-awareness definitely plays a huge part. In that conversation, said, "Hey, if you start to say these types of phrases, right? Like, it's too overwhelming.
Yep.
There's so much I can't do it. There's just too much, or things." I said, those are kind of crutches of if you're really self-aware, you'll go, yeah, that's just a lot of work. And my today's self would like to do TikTok or Instagram, or whatever that might be, go hang with a friend for a while. But then your tomorrow self, when you're like, man, I wish I was a little bit closer to my goal, but I didn't do anything to get there. But I knew that, if you can tell yourself, because then I think if you become aware of that, then you can start to balance it pretty well, right? And go, yeah, I know I'm going to fail. I know my brain's going to just give in to the impulse of doing the easy for a minute, and I'm just going to know my future self is going to be like, it's going to be a little harder.
Yep.
But if you give yourself these crutches that aren't really related, they're just like colloquialisms. I don't even know if I'm using that right.
Yeah, sure.
Polygraph full stack developer.
Yeah.
Then,
Yes.
then if you give those things are detrimental.
Yep.
Because if you don't know them and you're not self-aware, then you're just gonna
rationalizing bad behavior.
Yeah. And you'll never get past that.
Yep.
That will be your gate, for a long time until you can figure out that's what you're doing to open that gate.
Excuse me. I'm so sorry.
Tis the season.
Still fighting colds.
I got this voice that's still not completely 100%.
Yeah, we're on the struggle bus a little bit with the colds. So analyzing yourself, personal growth, and challenging yourself to a point where you're uncomfortable. Those are the three they came up with that I thought seemed to resonate with me as well. Of the three things that you go, this is how I would reach my potential. Is I would know myself well enough to know what I need to grow in, and I would challenge myself to say I need to put myself out there on places that I'm not super comfortable always with. So. But
This is how we do it.
Yeah, agree. That song. Do you have that song teed up?
I don't. I can't. We get copyrighted.
Oh, all right.
It's funny. I can play a movie clip for 40 seconds and
nobody cares.
Nobody cares.
You
But
play
man, I played
1
5
second.
seconds of a song. And
we're done.
8 people come out of the woodwork, flag you on YouTube and everywhere
awesome.
else.
Okay, so that was my. Why do we think potential is hard for people? Or at least people don't reach goals and don't reach their potential. I don't know if you've ever looked around and gone, that person's. So here's my other quote that kind of resonated with me. Somebody said, well, that person's fighting below their weight. So if you look at them in boxing terms, are you fighting at your weight class, meaning you're right where you need to be and you're fighting people that are equal to you? Are you in the right place? Are you fighting below your weight, meaning you're probably not living up to your potential because you're a big fish in a small pond and you haven't figured out how to get into a bigger pond where you can actually grow and thrive? Or are you fighting above your weight where you're actually in a place where you're growing because you're fighting people who are better than you? Or in theory.
So this is going to be potentially an astonishing question to you.
Oh God.
Because of who you are and what you do.
Yeah.
Or you already have it and you just haven't gotten there yet. The question is, how important is potential and applying it to oneself? So, because the way we've been talking, it's sort of assumed that potential means being able to do something that you feel you should be able to get to.
So,
or a goal you should be able to achieve. You need goals. Basically, how important is it to have goals?
So
what if I didn't have any goals?
So I love this train of thought that you just went down because that is where we're going after we rate this beer.
Okay.
From the perspective of why I landed with this topic was because of that. When I look around and I go, well, that person's not living up to their potential. Or I go, you talk to your daughter and you go, well, what do you want to be when you grow up? Well, that is a very unilateral thing, right? Like you're like, it's just this one thing. What's your potential when you grow up? Or why is that person not living up to their potential? Like as if that's their only thing.
Right. Now I will just for clarification, because I think this is not only just because of the importance I feel for my own conversation with my daughter, but like anybody listening too. What I ask her is, what do you want your life to look like?
Yes.
As an adult, not what do you want to be when you grow up?
Right.
Because there's a lot of different things that you can be
and still have a bad life.
And still have a bad life. And then there's a lot of other things that you can be and then have the life that you want.
Right.
So what does your life look like? She had a really great answer for that. And she acknowledged, right? like I have some things that are I love to travel. Like for her, I want to be able to travel. That takes money. So I want to have a job that affords me the luxuries of more travel than the average bear. So to her, for her potential, she needs to be able to
whole self potential.
Right. She wants her life to have earning ability to support something that might be a little bit more luxurious than your average bear. But not everybody has those same goals, right?
Right.
Where they're like, I don't want to go to college. I'm okay with and college is. We had a whole episode on this. College isn't the end all be all. So I'm not trying to say like not going to college is not reaching a potential. It is for some people. It isn't. It's potential for some people. It's not potential for others.
Right. I don't need.
Does that make sense?
Yeah. If your goals, if you know the path you want to go down, and you're willing to go down that path, and college isn't part of it, good on you.
Right.
There's some people who go, this is the path I need to go down to be happy and fulfill myself. And they turn out to be wrong. They get halfway through college and like, this is not it. That's crazy. There's some people that go through college and that's the only path you can get to become a doctor, lawyer, whatever. Like there's certain professions you just have to have. That's the path. If you believe that that's your whole self-happiness, at the end of the day, you're going down a 12-year path of college. That's just, there's no other way to get there. So, but yeah, so I'll tell you what.
Other than winning the lottery.
Oh, or that. So why don't we rate a beer real quick? And then when we come back from rating a beer, I want to talk about how flawed my logic was. And I also want to talk about take your whole self and break it down. And you and I hopefully this will stimulate the audience to do the same thing. Talk about potential in very specific areas.
Okay. So I don't know if I didn't really answer your question about the fighting up or fighting down. But the reason that sparked where I kind of went was thinking, well, what does that look like if you're fighting at your weight class? Is if you are like, I've reached whatever potential I feel like I'm good with.
Yeah.
But that's a personal decision, right?
Yes.
It's not like really what you might think my potential looks like.
Right.
But you have said in this podcast, when you're saying you're talking to their wife and you're like, they're not living up to their potential.
Yep.
That's you.
Yep.
Putting that on them.
Agree.
Okay.
So when we get back from the podcast,
Which was why I asked, did you ask them?
Yeah.
Kind of thing. Okay.
So
we'll get to it. We'll get to it.
Which is again, the first thing I'm going to say is I now see the flaw in my logic.
Okay.
However, I do think that there is something to potential that we all inherently think about. Like I think about what could have been, what that could, like you look at people just bluntly, you judge people and go, well, that person didn't live up to their potential. That person could be doing all kinds of stuff. Or how'd that person get there? They're boxing way above their weight. Like that person's, I don't know how they got where they are. Right. They didn't have the potential to get there. And somehow they ended up there. What the hell?
Right.
All right. Let's rate a beer.
Sure.
Is that all right?
Yes.
Good. Cause I want to get into how flawed my logic is.
I can't wait.
So I cheated on this one cause the guy made me sample it before I don't know if I can go first.
You can still go first.
Oh.
I mean, so you had a sample at a store.
Yeah.
That's fine. I'm glad you at
tastes
least
better.
admitted to it than trying to get through this whole thing without.
Yeah. I'm not going to lie about it.
Right. You're not Sicilian.
Yeah. You can tell there's at least 17 things.
Right. Your pantomimes gave you completely away.
I actually went ahead and bought this because
I hope you bought it.
well, I mean, no, I just walked out. I'm like, you're right. I'll tell you whether I'm going to pay for this later.
Thanks.
No.
Bye.
The guy said I could take it. No. So it actually, when I picked this up, I thought he let me sample and I go, he's like, this is not the same IPA. And I'm like, all IPAs are the same IPA. So I took a sample of it. I will tell you, I think it was better in the store than it is now in the can. However, it's not a bad IPA to me. And so it is just you can taste the hoppiness of it. It tastes like a mild IPA to me. So Schlafly, good job. You've got a 3 from me on an IPA because I could probably drink. I've got a couple more of these that I'll probably drink the rest of and be fine with. So that makes it like we don't do half stars because if we did, it would be a joke. So we don't. But yeah, I don't know. It's a 3.
So what's really interesting about IPAs is that we know we're not a fan.
Yep.
Right. But we like to put ourselves in uncomfortable situations.
Right. Because we're growing.
But then there are a lot of people that love IPAs.
Yeah.
Right. So if that a person who was listening, Andy, who likes things like that.
Yeah. A 3 from me.
And then I give it a low rating. They've come back and emailed at least once that said, I'm sort of throwing that company under the bus by giving it a low rating.
I did not throw this company under the bus. I said,
I'm
good
speaking
you.
on my own.
I'm with you. So
this is my own rating system that I'm doing.
if we had a listener named Andy who gave us bad feedback about that stuff, it's fine.
But what makes me laugh about that, so is like, because I'm rating things from my own personal point of view and taste buds. But the potential for this beer.
Oh, I like where you're going with this.
The potential for this beer is a 5, I'm sure, with an IPA lover.
With the right goals.
Right. And the right audience.
Yeah.
And so just because we chose to go against our comfort level and see if we like this, I don't wish to throw Schlafly under the bus if I give it a lower rating than a person who has a better sensible palate than I do.
Or just a love for things that are bitter or taste like crap.
Yeah.
Just kidding. Sorry.
No. So as soon as I tasted it, I went, that's an IPA. Like to me, it's so terrible, but it's just, I taste IPA. It'd be like saying, here, I have this, strawberry something. And I go, yeah, I taste strawberry. Have this blueberry. Yeah, it tastes blueberry. Have this IPA. That tastes IPA. Yeah.
IPA.
All right. And so,
excuse me.
I don't dislike it though. Okay. To where I'm not going to finish it or go, oh, this is terrible. Why did you introduce me to it? I think I'm at least maturing enough to go, I can see why people like this. Whereas maybe in episode 6, if we had an IPA, I'd be go, why do they make this?
Yeah, this is
right.
Yeah.
But I understand. And I think we've grown in that level to go, I understand why they made this. It's not necessarily my cup of tea. But it's not bad, which says a lot for it. Right. So I'm going to give it a 3 in that vein of going.
It's a good IPA.
Someone gives that to me and goes, I really enjoy this as an IPA. And I want to share this with you and see what you're think.
Drinking it.
I'm drinking that. Yeah. And I'm not getting rid of it. And I'll finish it. And yeah.
And if somebody said, this is all I have, you're going to drink 4 or 5 of these at somebody's house.
Yeah, I'll have a couple more. I will intersperse it with some water.
Just to get the bitter out of your mouth?
Just a little bit. Because that's what hangs around. That's the thing about IPAs. That I'm like, it just kind of hangs on the tongue.
And not to get gross, but it's also with beer, you're drinking a lot of carbonation and a lot of bubbles. It's also what burps back up, just for the record. Mm-hmm. It's that real bitter flavor that you're like, oh, that was horrible.
Yeah, yeah.
So just it's the same as if you drink something like some of the sours that have like the lime sour, or we have those things, and you're like, the thing that comes back up at the end of the night is you're like, oh, it's whatever the worst flavor is in the beer is what comes back up. And you're like, damn it, where'd that come from?
That's an astute observation.
Thank you. I love talking about belching on a podcast. That's great. Cool. All right, so you're at a 3. I'm at a 3.
Pair of 3s.
It's a pair of 3s, which for an IPA lover, that's a pair of 5s. Good job.
Yeah,
nice job,
I'm sure
Schlafly's.
If you love IPAs, you're probably rating this pretty high, because my 3 is usually a connoisseur's 5.
Yeah, agree. So I think we did justice
good job,
to Schlafly.
Schlafly.
Yeah, good, nice work. Nice on you, man. Okay, so I told you we were talking about flaws, but then we're gonna get deep into your own world.
Let's do it. Let's pick me apart.
So my flaw in this whole logic was my projection of somebody else's potential on them. Mm-hmm. And what I failed to realize is that,
because you're a coach, that's what coaches do.
It is, but I failed to break it down further and say that person. So the person that started this, I will be honest with you, is not necessarily happy where they are. Mm-hmm. They are where they are because of an obligation, and that obligation is extremely honorable, and I appreciate it wholeheartedly. So they're not making a choice to not live up to a potential; they're obligated not to. And I get that, 100% legit, and it's hella honorable.
And my guess is there is not an insignificant percentage of people that are in that same exact boat.
Yes. So that led me to, I'm only looking at potential as a career. And then so I broke that down and I go, so I got myself off of my high horse and I go, I have potential in a lot of areas. And I started thinking, like, I play music and I don't play music the way I want to play music. And I look at people and go, I wish I could play like that. I have zero goals in those areas. So parent. So work, parent, and music were the three that I thought of. I'm gonna get
Did you think of marriage?
So husband. So I have four.
Husband/parent?
So I have four for you. Work, parent, golf, and husband.
All right.
So I started thinking, what if we just broke this down? Because I don't think your holistic happiness simply depends on the potential for one piece of that. So your potential. So, where do you think you rank on your potential at work? Do you think you've met your potential? Do you think you're below your potential and trying to get there? Do you have goals to get there? Where do you think you are on work?
Yeah, work is a really great one to get started with because, or I would say career in what I do for a living.
Yep.
We've talked a bit about this in various facets. And what I'll say is I believe I've reached my potential with my career. I afford myself what I enjoy and sustain and all that stuff. And I don't hate my job. I am not of the ilk that thinks that you have to love your job, because I do believe that once you start to get paid for something and you're required to do it, it sucks a lot of potential fun out of it.
The fun quantity.
All right. I mean,
down.
it's goes to whoever the golfer was that said, I love playing golf, but the moment I had to do it for a living, it became a job.
It became a job. Yep.
So I know you and I have talked about this a lot. My goal was to not hate going into work. I currently do not hate going into work. I enjoy getting up, getting my coffee. I never just go, I hardly ever go, I just don't want to work today. And I don't take vacation days usually because of it, because I don't mind, going to work, and I'll go, I'll plan a vacation. Like I'll plan vacation days because instead of just going, my brain can't handle work today. I never do that. And
so you're at your potential at work.
But I will caveat it to say the potential of what I could do, I believe I have not achieved.
Okay. Because that's where I was going to go with this, is that you went back to school, you've got a degree, you've got you've done some things to better your career trajectory.
Right.
So you think there's probably more you could have done if you look at just work as the only thing that we're worried about for potential. You're like, I probably could have gone and done other stuff. Choose not to.
I could have made a lot more money.
That doesn't make me happy.
True.
I'm happy
and
now.
I'm not trying to brag. I hope this doesn't come off as bragging. I just think there are a couple of fields that I think I could have done well in. I think I could have done well at lawyering. Or
just loitering. I've loitered a lot.
And I've actually, one of our friends who is a lawyer,
You love to argue, so I could buy that.
I love to
Debate,
formulate arguments, yes, and debate. I love it. And taking a position and defending it.
Yeah.
I told him, I said, when I retire, I might just try to take the bar. And he thought it was awesome. I'm like, I want to see if I could pass the bar.
Oh God.
I think I could do it, without having to go to school. I think I could self-learn. And he thinks too. He's like, yeah, you could do that.
Look at the study guides, look at all the stuff that you can get free online for the bar.
Don't have your job I'd have to be retired, right? Had to have some free time.
Yeah.
It'd take time.
Oh yeah,
but I think I could do it.
Okay.
Again, not bragging.
Because
I'm not saying
you have to learn case law.
I'm not saying I'd be a good lawyer or pass the bar with a high score. I just, given enough time and enough resources, I think I could do it.
That's all I'm saying. ChatGPT, you could probably pass it today. Okay,
AI?
keep going. Yeah, a little AI stuff.
And I don't know if it's successful or not, but just a couple other of arenas. I think if I didn't value my happiness, politics, I think I could succeed there.
So,
I think even medical stuff.
You think your career potential could have gone a whole lot of different directions?
If money was my driving force, I could have taken a different path. And put a lot more resource into just getting a paycheck. Okay. And that's, again, and I'll just also caveat, we've had this discussion before too. At some point, in my early career, I thought climbing the ladder was sort of what I should be doing.
Yep.
And I hit a spot in my career where I went, I don't want to climb the ladder. I see what the people do above me and how much stress and how much they have. Like, I like where I'm at.
Yep.
And so I'm not gonna go to my boss and go, I want to be the next VP. I don't.
Yeah.
It's not worth it to me. I see how many hours they work. They never see their family.
At one point, there was a time where I go, I want that. And not only do I want it, I think my potential is I can get there.
What did we thought? It's not a matter of if. It was a matter of when.
It's going to happen.
Right. It was the right buttons will get pushed eventually. Like, we'll get there.
I'm getting there. And then I got halfway there and I'm like, this is not pleasant. This is not a good experience. Like, this doesn't bring me any joy. I hugged it and I'm like, I hate this. I'm going somewhere. Anyway. All right. So talk to me about parenting. Do you think you've reached your full potential of parenting? Do you think you left anything on the table? Do you think you're fighting below your weight? What do you think you're doing?
That's such a tough one. I don't know. And I question it every day. There are days I'm like, I am killing this parenting thing because I'm not doing X, Y, or Z that I think other parents are doing wrong, let's say. But then something comes up and I'm like, I thought I taught you better than that. I have failed as a parent. How do you not know that? Right? Like, that's a basic, or something and that's one that I think people are going to struggle with until they die.
It's a trick question because potential is, and this is why there's a definition that says shows capacity to become something in the future. All of your parenting is what you did in the past. Now you're dealing with, like, you're having to, you don't know if the lessons you're teaching now sink until somewhere down the road where they get to express those or practice those. And you go, oh yeah, I think I taught them the right thing back then. Now I'm reaping the benefits of it. And so potential is you're like, how do I think that far ahead? You should be as a parent, honestly, thinking about what you want your kids to grow up as. There's a guy I was following and one of his 12 rules, if you're ever looking up 12 rules, Jordan Peterson, dude. He has 12 rules, and one of them is he's crazy as a freight train.
Well, I'm just gonna say he's very polarizing.
Oh yeah, people either love him or hate him. He does have 12 rules that you should look up, even if you hate him.
I'm familiar with it.
Are you?
I read most of that book.
Really? I listened to it on audiobook.
I did the same, but I don't.
Okay, I did it while I was walking.
There's this whole thing about reading versus audible, all that, whatever. But yes.
One of his rules is do not ever let your kids do something that makes you hate them. It's rule number 6 or something, right? So that's one of his rules.
That just leads to resentment. So
don't
I agree because resentment's bad.
But people do that all the time. You don't realize that you hate them until way later when they take that little thing that they've been doing and escalate it up to a teenager, and then they escalate that to their 20s, and you're like, I should have fixed that a long time ago. Yeah,
my guide to parenting was always the photo negative, where I said my goal is I don't want to raise an a-hole. Where people can't stand to be around them, right? Including myself, right? Like I want to be,
including me,
right? I want to be able to have conversations, enjoy time, all that. And I don't want them to be a blight on society and suck more than they give. Yeah. And to that extent, I won't really know if I was successful until a little bit later on. Yeah. But I mean, it's funny. Those were the goals. If I get them over the line of that and then they graduate high school, because that's a big milestone.
Yep.
Because you can do a lot after that.
Yep.
It's hard without a high school diploma.
It's hard to choose a path if you don't have it.
Right.
All right. So tell me about, I selected golf for you, but I think I'm going to allow you to just change that to anything you want to talk about.
Golf is an anomaly because no one can get. No, I don't know. No one can get better at.
Are you living up to what you realistic? So remember, it's analyzing yourself.
Did you just say member? That's awesome.
Remember
when you said this?
Analyze yourself. Are you living up to your potential of like a golf?
I am hitting at my weight for the amount that I play. You can only get better with practice.
And you're putting as much effort in it as you feel value from it.
What I'm putting as much effort as my time and my resources allow.
Okay.
Which is time, money, and I don't know, equipment, which is good. Maybe that's money, time and money,
Time and effort.
Right. I play enough. Like I only have so many times I can play, and I'm just you have to play more to get better. And if I wanted to be a scratch golfer, I could. I believe I could get there. I'm an athletic person. I was way more athletic when I was younger, probably than so forth now. But I'm athletic enough. I think I
With
could
the right amount of time.
Yes, right amount of time, coaching and practice. For sure. If I invested in lessons, a lot of lessons, spent 2 or 3 times at a range every week, and then played every weekend, I would improve vastly.
Yeah.
I just don't have that. I don't have the time or the money yet.
The answer is
I'm at my potential for what I can afford in time and money.
But you have more potential.
Sure.
But you're okay not using up that potential. You're like, this is what
I would have to make sacrifices to live up
on
to
other things that you enjoy.
Yes.
Okay.
Right.
Like family. You've ever like,
Right.
I don't care what's going on with my family.
Family time.
I got to go spend 4 hours on the driving range.
And
to get the swing
obligations.
right.
There's stuff that comes up on weekends. We got to.
All right. So how about husband?
I'm the perfect husband. So
you're
I'm
punching above your weight.
Way above my weight. And I tell my wife,
I can't wait for this one to air.
Tell my lovely wife that every day. I'm like, yeah. I don't know, man. Like, that's such a good one too, because there's 2 people. There's 2 in the equation, and you can only control what you can control.
So are you giving 100% of the relationship? Or just trying to give 50? What?
We're doing percentages?
I'm just saying, most people think relationships are 50-50 and they're never 50-50. Both people have to almost try to give 100% to try to figure out how to get to 100. Like you're 100% and my 100%. Like,
all right.
You get the idea.
It's almost like the parenting thing. But I try
You won't know until you're divorced?
I try to do the golden rule and treat my wife like I would want to be treated. That is my goal. That is the potential. And if I do something to her, if I treat her in a manner that if she did the same thing to me, I get pissed off, which I do. Don't get me wrong. So yeah, I mean, I'm not the perfect 100% of the time, because we've talked about this. There are just days that you wake up and you're like, it'd be kind of funny is if I could make her like, mad, kind of, or aggravated at something. You just push buttons.
Yeah, I'm
right?
a button pusher. I get it.
And it's not like and it's not all the time, and I think it's in our blood, right? Like, I don't know what it is. You wake up on the wrong side of the bed and you're like, well, I'm in a surly mood, so you need to be a little salty too.
Yeah.
And then they come in, they're like, hey, how's it going? And you're like, and you say something silly or whatever it is that will push a button. So I do that, but my goal most of the time is to treat her like I would want her to treat me. And that's all I can ask.
It's a weird rule now that I think about it. Have you ever thought about it this way? Is that if she treats you, or if you treat her like you want to be treated, you're treating her as if she's another you, and she's a completely different person than you. She has different needs. So you really need to treat her like she wants to be treated, not how you want to be treated.
But see, what's interesting, and this might be an entire another podcast, is being nice isn't a separate. It's like the symptoms of it's like the small components of a bigger thing. Yeah. If I say I'm going to be nice to you, that might mean something different, kind of different people. Who knows? But the general idea
of I'm not going to be hateful, or my intent is always going to be good.
I'm going to be friendly and nice, right? Like that's fair. Okay. Even if you say something that is completely off the wall, right? Like because what does it matter if you come in and say the sun's going to go out tomorrow? Okay, well we'll see.
I'm sorry. I was just I was today years old when I realized that saying has a flaw in it, which is like if
but
someone.
I think that's a granular level.
Maybe, but if you're if you have some sort of mental disorder and you come to me and you're like, I'm going to treat you the way I want to be treated, and you're crazy as a jaybird, I don't want you treating me the way that, you know what I mean? I'm sorry. I got off on a weird mental tangent for a second.
I know the road you were going down, but for the most part, I think people have a way they want to get treated.
Yes.
and they
You're
don't.
saying common courtesy. There's a generalized common courtesy, common decency. Treat me with that.
Hopefully, marriage goes beyond that, because not only being nice, but going, I want to uplift you, or like, I want to support something you're doing. To go, hey, today I know you want to do the following. I'm going to take care of X, Y, and Z, so those aren't roadblocks for you.
Yeah, I want you to feel loved and supported. Versus when I talk to my boss, I go, I want to make sure you think we're on this. I'm going to be kind and courteous.
Right.
But I don't need you to feel loved and supported all the time.
Right.
Different relationship.
Or when you're out in public, you go, I want to be treated and that someone opens the door for me. If they're going through the door and I'm a half a step behind them.
Right.
Well, I do more than that for my wife.
Okay.
I hope.
Yes.
Right. Different forms of, that's common courtesy, right? Is, just keeping the door open for a second and going, here, I'll hold it for you.
Agree. So, all right. So tell me how, I'm going to wrap this a little bit, which is, do you think, have you been in the place where I was at where I was like judging someone's potential based on what I think they could produce or what I think they should be or should do? And then,
I judge people every day.
So from a potential perspective, and then do you like the thought process behind breaking potential down into things that actually parts of your life that you value more? Meaning, like you go, I'm not at my potential of where I think I could have been from a career, and I don't care. That's okay. I'm happy where I'm in it here. So that's not reaching my potential at my career is an okay thing versus not reaching my potential at being a husband or at being a parent is not an okay thing. I should be I should be putting my effort towards those because those are more important to me. So starting to break down your life and value segments differently. Like my potential at my hobby may not have to be as important as my potential as a parent. Like I'm put more effort towards that and I get more joy from that. Does that make sense?
All of what you just said, I don't really ever put that granular in my head. I think I'm doing a lot of that probably on autopilot-ish. Like,
okay. Subconsciously?
Right. Because like when I go play golf and I'm playing where I'm going to score 100, right, and 70s scratch, like so 30 handicap is not good. Do I throw my clubs in anger? No. I try to have a good time because I'm just going, this is, I know this, right? Like I don't sit there and I don't usually like analyze it in the moment. I just go, yeah, I'm a 25 handicap and I hope the people that I'm playing with don't get pissed off that I have, that I have to hit a couple more shots if they're good.
Yeah.
Or
so I equate this to your golf to my guitar though, in that I go, I really want to be better at it. I look at a person like Billy Strings or some of these other people who just really understand how guitar theory works and are able to like straight pick the crap out of their guitar. And I go, I want to be that. The difference is and I think that's when you go golfing with somebody who's, a 5 handicap or 10 handicap and you're like, God, I wish I could swing like that.
Here's what I do though. What's funny about that is I look for anomalies or I look to reaffirm what I think I already know. And so if I've played with people, a good friend who I go to vacation with, was it last year or the year before, who is plays at 1 or 2 over.
Yeah.
Or maybe I think said 1 or 2 over. We played together and I was like, how often do you play? Now, this is a bit loaded because he's actually a golf pro.
Okay, well
at a golf course. But my point is, he's every day.
Yeah,
right. He's doing something.
It's his job.
It's part of his job. He's teaching it. He's, so it just reaffirms like, oh, I have to be. You're not even a 0.
Yeah, you're not even a scratch golfer.
Maybe you are technically. I don't know if it is, but you're telling me you play 1, 2 over. Well, that's not scratch. That's not 0.
Yeah.
And you do this every day. So it just reaffirmed what I think I already know. Now, if I was playing with a person and they were playing at par and I said, how often do you play? And they're like, once every quarter.
Yeah.
I would be blown away.
4 times a year.
What clubs do you playing with? Because I'm buying them.
Right.
It's obviously your clubs. Because I'd probably ask him, like, what?
I equate that to guitar. I'm like, I play fairly frequently. I play every day. A little bit, but so I'm going to so yours is like, hey, if I dedicate enough time, mine's probably the same thing, right? It's like But I honestly don't think I ever challenge myself on things that I'm passionate about to get like uncomfortable and go, I'm going to have to go learn something new on guitar. And I'm going to have to like slow down and actually, like for you, for golf or something, you'd have to go, I'm going to have to get somebody to analyze my swing and slow everything down to like, how do I technically do something differently and better and uncomfortably jack up my golf game or like I'm going to have to uncomfortably get into a place where I go, guitar's not fun anymore. Now I'm trying to learn.
Can I
something.
throw out, and you can do this. I know we're right, like we're at about our time, but so feel free to come back and say anything about me that I'm similar doing to you. But so just as an outsider, if I looked at you, and because again I say I judge, right?
Judge.
So I would go, well, one of the reasons I think you're not where you would probably want to be in guitar is because every time you start a lot.
I start
stuff.
everything. Oh my
and
God.
every time there's a bright, shiny object, you go towards it.
Yeah.
So you never really perfect one thing.
No.
And so if there's a song you want to learn, you're super into it for a minute. And then you're like, I'm getting it. This song over here. And then you never really perfect or get to, because
that's the story of my life.
Right.
Literally.
Right. So feel free to do that to me.
No, I should write a book called Bright Shiny Object.
Bright Shiny Object.
How I moved from one thing that's tangentially related to something else. Like literally I picked up harmonica and I'm like, why am I not better at guitar? Well, I'll tell you why, because I haven't picked that damn thing up in a while because I've been screwing with these stupid harmonicas. And now I'm like, I'm not very good at this either. Maybe I should go back to guitar because it became the new bright, shiny object as I want to go. So no, 100%
I was watching that Jason Momoa reality show. I think it's on Netflix. You just said you got it. It's called The Rock or The Rock Climb or whatever. And they're rock climbers. And I've watched a lot of things on rock climbing documentaries of sorts. Mm-hmm. And when I was watching this one, I went, hey, Steven built a rock wall in his basement.
I did completely.
Because he was into rock climbing for a minute.
For 7 seconds.
And how many times have you been on that rock wall?
I haven't climbed it once. Part of it was I just wanted to build it.
You never even were on it.
I built it for the kids. So I put a mattress underneath it and let them climb on it. But it wasn't.
It just made me laugh because I was like, Steven was into this for a half second.
I cleaned the basement the other day, and Jen's like, we haven't got a lot of use out of this rock climbing belt that you bought that you had to have. I'm like, yeah, I know. So I've got a bunch
but it's not bad. Like that, you know that about yourself, which is great. I mean, you're very self-aware, and you don't take it super harsh, right?
No.
Like, because I just was able to say that, and you're like,
no.
That's right.
Yes, it's 100% accurate. Right. Oh, good stuff. All right. Well, I hope people find ways to set goals, analyze themselves, and challenge themselves a little bit to figure out what makes them happy in their life and what their potential is for that thing. Like, I need to be more passionate about setting goals that make me uncomfortable for guitar. If that's really what makes me passionate, like if that's really what makes me happy, I think that would make me happy is go set a goal, small one, go do something. Right? Like, know that you have a weakness, figure out what makes you a little bit uncomfortable to go learn and go do that and see if it makes you happy. So that was my goal with potential.
And I don't think this is enough for another podcast, but I know we're running long, but part of what I've thought is that people naturally will gravitate into their lane. Mm-hmm. So if by saying sort of like could I have more potential in a place? Because we've talked a lot about like where we are happy with something. I think people will in their brain think that they need to achieve something because of what they see other people maybe doing, right? They're on social media or something and they're like, oh, this person's rocking out on guitar for you. Or I go play with a person in golf and they're like killing it. And I'm like, man, I wish I could be like, but you can let that become a detriment, right, to yourself of getting down on yourself, going, oh, I want to reach that potential, but you really don't. You do in your mind's eye, but you don't have the drive to do what it takes to get there.
Yeah. So,
I should say not do what it takes, because you probably can do what it takes, but you have to sacrifice some things. And that's where, if you're not willing to sacrifice time with your family, resources, money from stuff that's more important, or if you just don't make a lot of money that where like, I can't go play golf every day because that's a really expensive hobby if you go every day. But to that end though, like if you judge yourself against what other people's successes are in something that you think you would like, that can be bad.
Agree. So this quote just popped in my head that I heard, and I thought it was pretty impactful. You can't be mad at a result for a goal that you didn't work for.
Right.
So it's that theory that not everything that is valuable to you is part of your potential, I guess. And like, I'm not going to go work, somebody else is doing great at guitar. I'm not going to ever be Billy Strings because I don't ever spend 8 hours a day playing guitar and free picking. It's just not what I do. And I haven't done it since I'm 6, like he has, or whatever. He's like, those people are just crazy talented. There's some people that have inherent talent too that I don't have. But so yeah, I'm not willing to do that, and that doesn't bring me joy to get to that level. So it's not part of my potential. Part of my potential is things that make me happy that I'm willing to go work for.
Yeah.
And set goals for, and try to achieve and try to get better at. So.
Yeah. And with a name like Billy Strings,
how do you do anything other than play guitar? You don't.
Or harp.
True.
Right.
That's a lot more strings. All right. Well, that's all I got. I hope that lived up to its potential. I thought it was going to be a short episode, and here we are a little long. So that's cool.
Yeah. Well, yeah, I hope everybody hung with us. We had a good IPA here from Schlafly. Thanks for bringing that.
Sure.
And good stuff. Netflix suggestions, send them towards Steven.
Yeah, let me know what I should be watching and binging.
He is new to the whole thing. He hasn't had Netflix in ever.
Hi, I'm new to the neighborhood. Name is Steven.
Right.
What's going on?
And obviously has a good like of comedy because he likes that kunk on.
If you haven't watched Kunk on Earth,
good.
it's freaking hysterical. There's only 5 episodes. You can binge it in one night. 5 28-minute episodes.
Although it's
easy.
so much information, I couldn't watch those one after the other. I broke
watched
it
it
up
at least twice now, just for the record, to go back because you missed some of it. Because
While you're laughing.
I laughed through
Yes.
half of the quotes.
Yeah. It's so good.
There's one with a gun. I think it's episode 3 when they get to the Wild West and the guns. If you don't find it as funny as I do, it's the guy talks about a gun, the Peacemaker working like a piece of clockwork, like it, and he describes it as a ratchet mechanism in there. So just wait for that quote. I peed my pants laughing at that one. So anyway, that's all I got.
Well, cool. Thanks you.
Thanks you.
This I know. This show will achieve its potential to end right about now.